Right.
Employee stock options, an important subject for a lot of entrepreneurs and anyone else working for a corporation that issues options. What are they and how do they work? You'll have to bear with me on this example because I'm going to have to do math, which sometimes doesn't turn out well. First of all, employee stock options are what's called a call. Options come in two forms, a call and a put. For right now, we don't have to worry about what puts are because employee stock options are calls. A call option gives you the right to purchase stock at a later date. So it doesn't give you the obligation, you don't have to purchase it. It gives you the right or the option to purchase that stock at a later date. But often these option grants, employee stock options, will have some sort of expiration or time frame associated with them. So if you don't act within the time frame of the option, it expires and it goes away. So the options have various behaviors and rules around them. These are really the key ones to understand. The first is pricing. The price of the option is set at the date of issue, and I'll explain what that means as we do our example. But your option is going to have a price associated with it. Because remember, it's the right to purchase a stock at a later date. So if you're purchasing the stock, you have to be purchasing it for some amount of money. That's the price of the option. There's also something called a vesting schedule. And what that means is when an option grant is made, you don't necessarily get all of your options immediately. You may get them little by little, and that's called vesting. We'll talk about that more in a moment as well. So option grants will you almost always have a vesting schedule. Then there is the concept of maturity and the duration of the grant. So how long is the grant? How long is the grant valid until it expires? And how fast does the grant force you to exercise the option? Exercise means you have to make the decision about whether or not you want to exercise, meaning purchase the stock. So at some point you have to say, okay, I'm going to exercise this option and turn it into stock, and you'll actually pay the purchase price of the option to turn it into stock. And then once it's stock, you can do whatever you want with it. You can either hold it or sell it. So the action of exercise is actually buying stock. That's what you're doing when you exercise. So really quickly, option grant is made. It gives me the right to purchase stock later. A price is set. It has to be a certain number of dollars per share. A vesting schedule is set. I don't get them all at once. I get them spread out over a 4-year period. A maturity is set. If I don't act within 10 years, this option will expire. And then there's the concept of exercising, which I may or may not do. So let's walk through an example. We're going to talk about the Knight Ridder Incorporated, which is my personal tribute to David Hasselhoff, a hero of mine. So let's say I work for Knight Ridder Incorporated, and they're going to issue me options. I'm an employee. I'm a lucky employee. So they issue me 1,000 options on some of their stock. So the number of options they issue me is 1,000. The price of the option is set, remember, at whatever the price of stock is at the date of issue. So if my company stock is worth $100 on the date of issue and they issue me options, then all of those options are priced at $100. In this case, it's very early on in Knight Ridder Incorporated's tenure, in Hasselhoff's first season, before he became internationally famous. And we'll say that the price is $1 per share. Okay? So they've given me 1,000 options at $1 per share, and they've said, okay, Matt, you don't get them all at once. You've got to take care of Kit and make sure that Knight Ridder makes his appearances. So I get them over a 4-year vesting schedule. And for simplicity's sake, we'll say that I vest every year. I get a quarter of my options at the end of the year. Then, what duration do these options have? Well, in this case, it's a 10-year contract. So I need to make a decision. As long as I'm working for the company, I need to make a decision within 10 years. And then what are the rules around the option? Oh, they're non-transferable. I can't sell them. If I don't exercise them, they go back to the company. Those are the essential rules. And then what would my exercise cost be? So let's get into the math of what happens if things go well or if they go poorly. Let's say they go well and Knight Ridder blows up like it did, and it takes television by storm and becomes a humongous, valuable corporation. Well, now the stock price, which remember used to be at $1 on the day of issue, let's say the stock is now worth $10. So my option grant is up. It's been 4 years. I'm 100% vested, so I own all 1,000 shares that were granted to me. And now I need to make a decision about whether I want to turn it into stock. Well, of course I want to turn it into stock. Each share is worth $10 when I only have to pay $1 to exercise the stock. So I make the decision, ooh, yes, I would like to exercise. The cost of exercise is the price of the stock multiplied by the shares. So it's $1 times 1,000 shares. So that would equal $1,000 for me to exercise the stock. So I pay the company $1,000. I now own 1,000 shares of Knight Ridder Incorporated. And I'm immediately going to sell those shares because I want to make a profit. So remember, Knight Ridder Incorporated shares are worth $10 a share. So now I sell my 1,000 shares for $10 a share. So I sell my 1,000 shares for $10 and I have $10,000. That's great. I paid the company $1,000. I end up with $10,000. I have a profit of $9,000. That's a great outcome for options. A bad outcome would be, and let's talk about this briefly. I made $9,000 and I'm going to have to pay taxes on that, by the way. But we'll talk more about the tax implications in the specific lessons around what type of option it is. So let's talk about a bad outcome. I've been issued 1,000 options at $1 a share with a 4-year vest and a 10-year duration, and they're non-transferable and I can't get rid of them. Except in this case, David Hasselhoff drinks too much, passes out repeatedly at a ball for the Queen of England. Everyone stops watching the Knight Ridder shows, and the stock price goes down to 5 cents per share. Okay? That's bad. Why? Because now when my options come up and I'm ready to exercise them after my 4-year vest is complete, I think to myself, do I want to exercise it? Is it worth it? And I multiply the $1 per share, which is my exercise price, which hasn't changed, times 1,000 shares would equal $1,000 again. Except in this case, if I turn around to sell the stock, it's only worth a nickel per share on the open market. So 1,000 shares times a nickel, this is really not good because I'm not sure I can even do this math. I think that's $5. Although I can't do the math could be wrong. But you get the point, it's worth substantially less than my $1,000. So essentially, it's not a good mathematical option for me. That's a bad outcome.